the letter that
Yes.
Mr. Mishler sent to the commissioners. I did receive a copy of it and have not had a chance to discuss it with Mr. Mishler. If you would discuss that today, or
I didn't get one, but just send it.
Oh, you don't? Do I have?
Did you get one, Tim? I didn't get one.
They gave a copy to the city, provided a copy to me this morning.
Mr. Mishler, you want to take this letter?
Y'all got one now? I've got a couple extra if you need them.
You, thanks, Mark. Yeah.
As you're reading, it's complex, but I probably need a little education in terms of what exactly the moratorium is that's in effect, and how, the authority for that, and who's, like I said, who it impacts, and then how that might enable us to have some time as the city of Corning to determine whether or not, with a comprehensive plan, zoning regulations are something that it makes sense for the city to even do. But right now, in terms of, from the city council's perspective, once the site plan was released, there was some, as you can tell from the letter, the process of looking at a comprehensive plan and zoning was in place, but upon the release of the site plan, there was some panic, I'll just say. So,
Yeah. But the moratorium is not territorial in nature. It's project related. The moratorium covers the entire county, but it exempts the current project that's being negotiated with NextEra. So Corning is part of the moratorium already. It's just that it would impact any future projects, but not the one
Not
that
the
negotiations
current
are already been receiving.
And you haven't said that. How does that impact then the current?
I mean, essentially what would have to happen is the commissioners have to extend their moratorium to include the project involving NextEra as well, which would probably take a brand new moratorium. I don't think you can,
amend your moratorium.
pardon me?
Amend your moratorium.
Amend our moratorium, yeah, to remove the exemption for the current project. And there are probably some legal ramifications of doing that, given where we're at in the process.
Would the exclusion zones around the cities play any part in the moratorium?
Yeah. The moratorium itself is simply saying, listen, we're knee deep in this project right here. We don't want to consider any other energy-related project for a period of 6 months.
I didn't know if it counted as the entire outside footprint outline, or if the exclusion zones were like donut holes, if you will, of the project or
Yeah,
not.
the exclusion zones are something that's been negotiated as part of the term sheet, but the moratorium is unrelated to that.
Is, so the term sheet released, is that, and again, I excuse my ignorance asking these questions, so does that contain the terms of the agreement between the county and NextEra, or simply is that a map of how?
It's pretty much a map. The agreements would have to be drafted, and of course the agreements themselves would be much more detailed and larger, but the term sheet includes the basic terms that have been agreed upon, subject to final vote.
Which is, when is the final, do you have a?
July 31st.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock.
Where are you currently at with the zoning regulations?
Well, so the process, I mean, zoning within the city is simple. The issue would be extraterritorial jurisdiction, which by statute can extend 3 miles, which obviously that's where the interest is figuring out what has to be done there. But by statute, we have to have a comprehensive plan. So we have a consultant who is, I don't know if the meeting's been set yet, but is ready to come and get the process started. But we're still talking about months, realistically, to get a plan and then adopt the plan. So, yeah, that's a concern.
Yeah. And of course, as a governing body, if you had zoning in place or want to do something as a city to, I guess, if indeed the vote is to proceed with the project, the city would be free to pursue any legal action on its own.
Right.
If indeed zoning was adopted and you believe that that was a violation of those zoning regulations.
So, I mean, where it may come next for, assuming we move forward with the plan and determine we're going to propose adoption of zoning regulations past our city limits into the county, then you'll be notified.
Yeah.
And how, I don't know. I'm not here to tell you, well, this is what's going to happen. But there would be some interaction in that respect.
Yeah.
Correct, and assuming that there would be turbines inside this extraterritorial that you're considering.
Yeah, potentially.
Dumb
Yeah.
question.
53.
Potentially 53.
53.
Yes.
3 miles.
23, I think, within 2 miles, 53 within 3, if I remember right. I've got it here.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, like, I mean, basically, if it's a 120 turbine project, 66% of them will be within 3 miles of Corning. As you all know, what Corning has done in the last, that our valuation has tripled in 15 years. So, that'll be devastating to our city. It truly will be devastating to our city and the surrounding area. That's a huge part of the project, especially when it was initially supposed to be a Soldier Creek project that was down south of Corning, basically. I mean, in there, I think the original project, maybe there was going to be 40 turbines or something to that effect. And now we've got 120, possibly up to 132. I don't, 66% is huge. As you all know too, we just did an annexation less than 5 years ago. Our city spent $400,000. I can do the actual math and get you the actual dollar amount, but we spent actually $500,000 probably to do the annexation. Which had we known this was in our future, we would have never made that decision, ever. And the developer spent another $300,000 to develop that for 13 lots. And so there again, right off the top, there's, close to $1 million that the city of Corning and the contractor have invested into our town, which they have a beautiful view all the way around. There's one of the property owners right here that built a new home. They can see for miles and miles and miles in all directions. And they're gonna be able to see 120 turbines with red flashing lights in all directions. And so, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that those will not be sought after lots once this is done. I'm pretty sure that project, we might as well, I don't know. Farm it. So, just so the commissioners are aware too, that, if this does go through the way it is, the city of Corning will be, requesting reimbursement out of the pilot money that NextEra is so willing to pay, then, some of that needs to reimburse Corning for our investment, and the contractor need to be invested right off the top for those investments, because had we known this, we never would have. We're a small city. We're only 200 people. For us to take on that kind of a financial investment is, first of all, huge. It was huge for us to do that. And we'll be paying for it for another 18 years. So our taxpayers are paying for that. And my son, who is the contractor, he'll never get his money back out of that. Eventually the city will maybe, but from the taxes of those two homes, but my son will never get any of his money back out of that. So it's just a major loss to him right off the top. So, we just request that we can have 3 miles.
And is that at the edge of the city limits?
The edge of the
3
city
miles
limits.
from the very edge of
No,
all
I'm
the
talking about
city.
that subdivision, is that?
Yeah, it's
It
on the
is.
north side of
Okay.
Corning. Yeah, it's not on that map, which I kind of don't understand either, because with technology as it is, I don't understand why that map, doesn't even show that kind of stuff,
I
but
was just curious how far the nearest turbine was too.
we're kind of curious about that too.
As part of the city, does the map correctly reflect the city limits of Corning?
The map on file here at the courthouse does, that one does not.
Okay.
But the annexation's not on that map.
Right, that's what I say, it's not reflected on there, but yeah, I can show it to you.
But it's part of the Corning city limits?
Oh, yeah, of course, it has to be
Not
for
on
us
this
to.
map.
This is what it actually looks like. This is my
So what
own,
kind of,
cut
do
and
you have
paste.
to have
but that's what.
approval
it-
from all the farmers within 2 miles? It's a city
It's a
council
city
vote,
council decision.
and the farmers just gotta live with it, to give up the rights to their farm.
It doesn't take the rights to their
We're not
farm,
taking any agriculture
Yeah.
rights away.
because agriculture would be exempt from that.
Same thing that Sabetha has recently done,
And what Seneca is looking into.
or lots of towns have it. Most cities, big cities of some size, most of them probably
Yeah.
already have something like this in place. But we're just a little bitty town of 200 people. I make $260 a month as city clerk. That's a month, and that's with several substantial raises in the last 5 years.
It's more than the fence viewers.
Yeah.
We're very
That's
small,
22
we're very
feet.
low. And no, we didn't, had we realized what was gonna be coming down our throats, we would have done something sooner. But first of all, I didn't know we even had I'm city clerk, this is the mayor. There was one of the other council persons was here this morning, but the rest of them couldn't be here today. Otherwise, they would all be here. The fact to
couple of them
pursue
out of
with
town.
this, it was a unanimous vote by the city council to pursue this, and actually a couple of them are leased landowners, so, it's not like they all want to protect the city of Corning, because the city of Corning is thriving. We were just voted the most productive city in the state of Kansas, the Huck Finn, I don't know what it was called. We just got a
Unemployed.
big award
It's
because,
Yeah.
because of what we've done. I mean, you can drive around Corning any day you want and see all the new homes and all the,
The
and
improvements.
see the improvements. And
there
please
are
notice
many-
that there's no junk cars sitting around and there's no dilapidated houses, not one. You know, go, please drive
There are
around.
many participating landowners that are backing this,
There are lots of participating landowners
that are backing this
that would
proposal.
100% back this. Granted, there's a few that would probably object, but again, you know, we feel like we're voted to represent the majority of the people and do what's in the best interest of our city.
But there was enough individuals, correct me if I'm wrong, that leased property that allowed 53 turbines to be put on them.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, still.
How long ago did they lease their property though?
I don't
Had
have
they,
any idea.
had they known what they know now, I bet they would change their minds, because there are several that are saying that.
They signed the document.
Right.
I
They
understand that.
did.
They were also lied to.
Right, before, yeah, we don't want to go too far down this road, but,
Yeah.
So is there any other negotiation going on at this point, or is it just now what the term sheet is and what's shown on the map is what is coming before you for a final vote next week?
That's pretty much
is that
it.
where you're at?
There were a few corrections with some property that had been mislabeled. Some were identified as participating landowners and were not. So I think that's being modified. So there might be just a few changes, but generally speaking,
Is there a
that's what will be
time-
voted. That's what will be
Okay.
voted on.
Is there a timeline for construction at this point?
Probably be a good question for
I mean, I think we're gonna get there. We need to understand the additional agreements and things like that, but I mean, we wanna start, you know, right away, obviously.
But at this point, the term sheet could be adjusted. You're making any modifications to the term sheet? So where it
We made some
says,
corrections
yeah.
from what we saw. There could be
where
some
it has the boundary lines of the extraterritorial, basically exempt area around the small communities, the small municipalities in the southern part of the county. Could that be adjusted at this time?
I wouldn't anticipate that happening before the 31st.
I would certainly entertain Shane Neal, our other counsel in this, before we were to do anything.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of effort's gone into the negotiations, and that's why it's always tricky when there's questions at the last week.
Yeah.
But I'm not asking this to be argumentative, but was there discussion or with the cities about the area that would be excluded?
I don't
Or
know.
was that something that you all,
I think there were some I know Kelly approached commissioners about exclusionary zone. I don't know if any of the others did or not.
Did
And
you
the mile.
approach the city?
The mile around the cities was in the original term sheet before we had the original meetings, and this is first,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
the
it's-
first, you know, I mean,
it was
it
always
should have
just kind
been,
of,
you know, if that was the plan back when we had our original open meetings, you know, I think it should have been addressed there already that the possibility was coming. But I mean, there's, we're getting into the legal area that,
And, I mean, it's really, I think, we've been negotiating this for months. I think that map right there that included the city of Corning was probably, has been discussed for at least 6 months. So it's difficult to consider something like this after the term sheet's been negotiated and 9 days before a vote's been scheduled.
Do you know what the exclusions are? I mean, what is it intended to be from the city limits?
In the term sheet, it's 1 mile from the city limits of every community that's in that area, or the area of the site plan, with the exception of Kelly, which is 1 mile from the center of Kelly.
say those are centers. I thought it was the center of the city. About the same difference.
I think Kelly's the center of the city, everything else I think is the city limits.
That development north of town, I'm sure is in city limits.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah. Did you draw that in there, or?
Yeah.
You just did?
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
think that's
okay.
totally-
Well, it looks, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's.
It's kind of a co-op club, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be co-op.
Which I think we used to be people live there.
Brad, you and Martin and James need to sit down and talk about this.
That wouldn't be a bad idea for us to converse and have a conference call.
Oh, absolutely.
That's mine.
What's the yellow mean?
It was just me trying to color in the lease landowners.
Well, there's more land lease than that.
I know, well, I kind of got interrupted and
No,
didn't get back
that's,
to
okay.
It takes a
I
while.
was just curious.
I don't color very fast.
No, I was just curious.
Is there a meeting scheduled for next Monday? Commission
No,
meeting?
there's not.
Just the
With the
Wednesday?
fair going on, we got enough on our plate.
Brad, I'll get a hold of you and see if we
Yeah,
can
sounds
let you
good.
call.
Yeah, I called or your office after I got this. Christie said you're already anywhere over here, so I tried to hunt you down, couldn't find you, so
Yeah.
I came up here.
We'll do the best we can do to try to help you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I ask a question to next, Eric? If a participating leaseholder has a turbine that is sited on their land, do they have any right to ask that a turbine not be placed on their land? Or is that an option at this point?
I mean, we'll discuss it with the individual landowner.
Okay.
That's, but it's gonna be subject to, what,
On an individual basis?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But they have that option to open dialogue with you if they,
everybody has an option for it.
okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you, Diane.